Good morning, everyone. Welcome back to the Forge. Now, I've been asked by a lot of viewers of the channel to do a stock removal video over just a basic knife. So we're going to be looking at a simple build today. This is a piece of 1095 steel. I hand draw my templates, and I'm looking at about a 7.5 inch overall length. I got a 4-inch handle here, 3.5 inch blade, and so I'm going to use my magnets and stick this to this. We'll paint over it with some spray paint, and then we're ready to cut it out. 1.5 inch wide steel is perfect for most of your hunters. Anything else, anything wider for the most part, if you're just doing a basic knife like this, you're just going to have a lot of waste. And so researching your steel, getting a width close to what you want is just going to save you a lot of time. Alright, I'm going to be using my Broadbeck 2x72 to grind out the profile of this knife. A good starter grinder is a Win 1x30. It's basically the same thing that Harbor Freight offers, except for it has a little 5-inch disc on it to help flatten handle scales, and it does work pretty well. I had a Grizzly 1x30 when I first started out. You can get these for $86 currently on Amazon. So not a bad price at all, and like I said, I know I'm using this big one, but it's basically the exact same process. So let's get the grinder turned on and get this ground to shape. Alright, there was our template. There's our knife. Okay, so the next thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and use some Dykem on the edge of this. You could also use a permanent marker, and we're going to scribe a center line so we can rough in our bevels in preparation of heat treat. We will also go and drill our handle pin holes. Alright, so there's a lot of different ways to do this. You could do it with a caliper. This is a number 30 bit. Another way to do it is to lay this bit on your flat surface. Now your flat surface can be a piece of tile, it can be a piece of granite, and you can hold it here, and all you do is you run your knife past the edge of it, flip it over, and do it again. I prefer this method here. Is a height gauge. I bought this one from Grizzly Supply. I think at the time I bought it was $74. There is substantially cheaper versions on Amazon. This one does have the replaceable carbide end here, and I can actually remove this by undoing this knob here, take it out, and shave down a carpenter's pencil and put it in there for marking on handle blocks. That way I'm not scratching the wood. So this is my preferred method. I'm going to go ahead and scribe the edge of this. And I also scribe down the back to give myself a reference line. I didn't used to do this. I've seen Kyle Royer's dad do it, and it really does help out with keeping everything straight. And so, let's see if I can get these pulled into focus here. Yeah, this is the one down the spine here. That's the one down the edge. Alright, so let's get these bevels roughed in. Alright, so here's where we are now. I have finished the rough grinding on the knife, roughing in the bevels. I've taken my caliper and I've measured here to the halfway point of the handle here, into here. And I've made a little X on there. I'm going to come back with a punch, and we're going to punch our starting points for our drill bit. I've also filed in a sharpening notch. That being said, let's get these punched and get over the drill press, get them drilled out. I'm going to use my spring punch here. You can just use a regular old punch if you want to. This steel is annealed right now, so it's super soft, so as long as it's harder than it, you'll be good to go. Got a number 30 drill bit chucked up, so let's go ahead and get these pinholes drilled. Now, if you're using wore out bits like I am, you can sometimes get a little lip on there. I don't know if you can pick that up on that camera or not. You can see it right there. And then you'll get this little push out the back side. This bit is very much wore out that I got on here, so I've changed it over to a bigger bit. And I'm just going to come in and just chamfer the edges of these holes. Make them nice and clean. It also gives a spot for some epoxy to kind of rest around the pins as they go through the handle material. And I'm going to put a few dimples in here on both sides to lighten it a little bit, as well as give the epoxy somewhere to sit. Just like that, our knife blank is ready for heat treating. Everything went good in the quench, nice and straight. We should have a really nice quench line right here. Whenever we get it hand sanded up and cleaned up, you should be able to see that really well. I'm going to temper this knife at 400 degrees Fahrenheit for 2 1-hour cycles. That being said, let's get this tossed in, and I'll catch you in a couple hours. Alright, everything went well in the temper. Didn't develop any warps or anything. No cracks, everything stayed straight. So I'm going to go ahead and slap my magnet on here, go over to the grinder and clean these flats up, clean the perimeter up, and then we'll move on to the handle scales. So I'll catch you in a minute and we'll start on the handle scales. Alright, so here we are right off the grinder. I have ground the flats, and I went ahead and finished the bevels. Next, I said a while ago we was going to start on the handle scales, and I'm actually going to go ahead and hand sand the blade. Just spraying it with Windex, and then start hand sanding. Alright, got it up to a 400 grit finish. I'll take it up to a 600 grit before final glue up, but now we're going to turn our attention to the handle scales. So let me go ahead and grab them and we'll have a little talk about those. Alright, for this knife I'm just using a couple of pieces of black walnut. I already had these on hand. I've had them for quite a while. They've actually been to Alaska and back with me. The best thing to go with, really though, is a set of stabilized handle scales. You can buy them off of various knife making sites. Jantz carries them, Pop's Knife Supply, Texas Knife Supply. You can always find them. Knifekits.com will sell you stabilized handle material. They also tell you that when their material is not stabilized. But if you're just starting out, wanting to make a knife, don't want to be out the money for a set of stabilized handle scales, a good place to look would be pallet boards. You can find some oak. Oak is pretty good. Like I said, black walnut. You can go to Home Depot and buy their maple furring strips. I've actually done that before. Some of the knives on the channel here have actually been made from wood like that. Just go through the stack. You can find some that has some nice patterning to it, and you can amplify that pattern with a torch and with some leather dye. There's also a large selection of naturally stable woods that you can get, like ebony. Osage orange is extremely stable. But just understand when you're making these knives that wood like this that's not stabilized will shrink. So I'm going to go ahead and get the knife laid on here, get it sketched out, get it drilled. We're almost ready for glue up then. All right, let's get after it. All right, I got the handle scales drilled and marked. Always remember whenever you're doing this to put an X on each one so you can determine which one is which, because there's been countless times when I first started out I didn't do this and made a whole nightmare for myself. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to put my drum holders here, and I'm just going to look at it and figure out where I want my front edge to be. And so I think I'm going to go there, right up there. And so what we have now, you can see the two lines there on the wood, and I'm just going to come in here and draw it like that. And then I'll go to the bandsaw and cut this out, and then use it, lay it on top of the other one, put these through it, mark the other one the same way on the front side, grind the front ends. Alright, now at this point, if you don't mind these being square, you can go ahead and just hand sand the front ends of these and oil the front ends and then basically glue your knife up. I mean, a lot of knife makers do this. I personally don't like the square ends here. I like them angled. As you've probably seen if you're a viewer of the channel, I always go to my grinder and I set my platen like this and come in here and grind an angle on the front end of these handle scales. I got one I've already done, so let me grab it. Like this right here. I think that the angle on the front is more comfortable, especially if you're getting up into skinning something or cutting something. You can pinch up in here and it's a lot more comfortable than the sharp edges here. And so that's just my personal preference. You may like it the other way, and if you do, hey, that's cool. You know, no problem. Like I said, I'm using my broadbeck grinder, and so I lay my platen at an angle. Your 1x30s, you would adjust your table. Or, in some cases, I've seen people take a piece of 2x4 block and cut an angle on it and leave the table flat and use that block as the jig to get the angle on the front ends of their handle scales. So just whatever works for you. Try different methods out, see what works, but the table on the 1x30 does tilt. And so you can do this exact same process on a 1x30 as well. So alright, now sometimes when you're putting your handle pins in, it can be a pain. They don't really want to go in. And one way I've found to fix that, I mean, you can take this over to the grinder and run a belt across it if you want to. That'll work too. Something else I do is just chuck a piece of the pin stock up into a drill. Point the end of it. And then I'll just run it through it a few times. I'll do it on this side and then flip it over, and then do it on the other side. And most usually that will allow the pin stock to go through fairly easy after that. Whatever works, you know. Alright, we are ready to glue this sucker up. So let's get that done. Alright, there's how she turned out. Simple little stock removal project. Nice little hunter. I appreciate you for checking this video out. If you would, hit that sub button down below, ring the notification bell, notify me of content as it posts, and I'll catch you on the next one. See you soon. Y'all have a good one. Bye-bye.